Okay, so apparently I have made a number of mistakes, and now I wish to make some corrections to a few of the things that I have talked about in some of my past videos. And I would like to share with you some of the new that I have recently learned. We will talk about all these mistakes and how I came across this right after we roll that intro. This whole thing started when an individual that was watching one of my videos, I believe it was the update number 3 to my master series, and he just happens to go by It's XYLV on YouTube, when he asked me a question as to whether or not I was a member of any of the Crown Royal groups that currently exist on Facebook, to which I replied no, and that I had never actually thought about them being there. So with that being said, I looked at a few of the groups and I followed the advice and the invitation of one Seth McCormick. And did that ever open up a complete new can of worms in my education? Once I joined a couple of the groups, I quickly realized all the things I did not know about Crown Royal, and that the information that I had been passing along in all my videos may in fact been correct, but learned it only pertained to the American releases of Crown Royal that are actually in my collection. You see, everything released in America is not released in Canada and even other countries like Japan and Italy, and vice versa. America doesn't always see a large number of the releases that those countries get, and in turn, those same countries don't see a lot of what America has had released. And little did I know that in Canada, bags, for example, are not always included when buying your Crown Royal. I hear it has something to do with taxes. Bags, however, are sometimes sold separately, and that also some boxes are not even included with your purchase either. But apparently, everything is subject to some sort of change now and then. But throughout all of this confusion, I learned that the Manitoba Limited 150 that I once thought I needed for my Master Series to be a complete collection, and that I had referenced in a number of my other videos, was no longer true. In fact, I realized that I didn't need that bottle at all in order to complete my Master Series collection, and that my current collection was in fact a complete American Master Series collection. Yes, I'm still waiting on that new 12-year reserve to be released here in Texas, but for now, I have them all. The Manitoba 150 Limited Edition, as pictured, was only released in Canada and are a part of the Canadian releases and not the American Master Series. So unless I begin to collect some Canadian Crown Royal releases, then I won't need that bottle at all. However, I am going to get a bottle or two just to have a small sample size from Canada. And I will talk about all of those in more detail in an upcoming video titled The Canadian Limited Editions. So please be sure and look for that real soon. Please also remember that in all of my other videos, I have unknowingly been making reference to what is the American Crown Royal releases only, and that there are apparently a ton of other releases from Crown Royal that pertain to other countries, such as Canada, Japan, Italy, continents like all of Asia and Europe, and most of those I will never be getting, unless my wife and I were to relocate to a new 15-room mansion. And trust me when I say this, that will never happen. So, I try to keep my collection limited to what I currently have room for, which for me is the American releases and a few strays, we'll say, that I will occasionally add to my Crown Royal collection. Now, there is also a small correction to the Noble collection. In 2018, Crown Royal apparently released a 13-year bourbon mash just like they had done in the Signature series that same year. And I talk about that in my very first video titled The Signature Series. Well, I was unaware of this in the relationship to the Noble collection. So, once again, after the legal battle was over about the use of the word bourbon, Crown Royal remarketed the product as the 13 Years Blender's Mash. But prior to that taking place, there had already been bottles sold as bourbon mash. So that release is still out there waiting for me to find it somewhere. And also in the second run of the release, they added a sticker to the packaging that said, "This is not a bourbon whiskey," in hopes of that solving the issue legally. And I have already found that bottle at the Canna Wine Company in Nashville, Tennessee, thanks to Brad and Chase Worley. And I've added it to my collection. Then ultimately, they just placed a new sticker on all the remaining stock that clarified it as the 13-year-old Blender's Mash. So technically there have actually been 9 releases in the Noble collection, not just the 7 that I had originally spoke of. And I now have 8 of them. Now, I hope this clears up at least some of the confusion that was most likely caused by me to even begin with. Basically, there is a Crown Europe, a Crown Asia, and of course, a Crown North America, which does cover the good old US of A and Canada. Once again, thanks for watching, and as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button in order to avoid more confusion in the future. We'll see you again.